We found out late on Friday that Sam Altman had been fired as CEO of OpenAI. Now, if you aren't familiar specifically with OpenAI, this is the artificial intelligence company that's behind ChatGPT, arguably the fastest growing consumer product we've ever had. 0 to 100 million users in less than 2 months, has really taken the world by storm with relation to artificial intelligence. But OpenAI itself has always had a very convoluted structure. It was started as a nonprofit, then transitioned to a for-profit entity. The nonprofit owns a piece of the for-profit. Microsoft owns a piece of the entity, but not the nonprofit. There's just all kinds of crazy things going on. But Altman was not only the one that started the company, he was one of the 4 main co-founders. He was also the CEO and the face of the company. So this is a massive change in the world of artificial intelligence as tens of billions of dollars pours into the industry. There are 3 major takeaways that I have for this from an investment perspective. That's the lens with which I'm going to look at this. And I think it's important to start with the firing itself and what OpenAI said. This is the press release from OpenAI that came out on Friday night. OpenAI announces leadership transition and says that Altman is going to depart as CEO and leave the board of directors, will be replaced as the CEO by Mira Murati, who was previously the chief technology officer. The other big thing is that as part of the transition, Greg Brockman is stepping down as chairman of the board of directors and will remain in his current role, reporting to the CEO. Subsequent to this, a couple hours later, we found out that Brockman actually quit. Despite being the chairman of the board, he was not part of firing Altman as CEO, and that appears to be where the fallout came between Brockman and the company. There are a couple of interesting things from this release, especially based on the information that we've heard in the last 18 or so hours as I'm recording this. And this is what I want to highlight is that the board of directors says that OpenAI was deliberately structured to advance our mission to enhance that artificial intelligence benefits all of humanity. This goes back to OpenAI's structure as a nonprofit and not a profit-seeking company. This comes as ChatGPT announced a lot of updates that would probably make the company a lot more money. You can actually create your own GPTs, and this has garnered a lot of interest. That partnership with Microsoft was deepening even further. And so it appears that at least that was a piece of the reason that Altman was fired, as he was too focused on the financials. Even says this here again, OpenAI was founded as a nonprofit in 2015 with the core mission of ensuring that artificial intelligence benefits all of humanity. In 2019, restructured to ensure that the company could raise capital in pursuit of that mission. There was actually a cap on the amount that investors could make that was part of the deal of raising money. So like I said, the complex structure here, I think, plays an ultimate role because the people who were involved in firing Altman, it appears, were upset with the way that the company was going out and making money and pushing forward with that. Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/ASYM for the top 10 stocks to buy right now. Now, there are 3 big impacts that I think we should be keeping an eye on over the next couple of months with OpenAI. This was not a really big company, despite the fact that it was worth about $80 billion, less than 1,000 employees. So now you have Altman leaving. He, I think, has a very loyal following from everything that we have heard. Not only did Brockman quit, but it sounds like there are other people who have quit. So the impact on the industry is going to be pretty dramatic. The first company to think about here is Microsoft. Microsoft has invested over $10 billion in OpenAI. So there's a lot of investment there, but it's the integration between OpenAI and Microsoft and Azure specifically that is going to be very interesting to watch. Azure is the cloud service that a lot of startups are now starting to build on instead of a cloud service like AWS, which was really the beneficiary in the last tech cycle because they had their services up and running. Companies didn't need to build their own data centers. They could just leverage AWS. Well, now if you're building in artificial intelligence, Azure is the first company that you're probably going to talk to. So does that change now that OpenAI is appearing to change what they're going to be doing as a company? We don't know what the outcome is going to be, but maybe you start to think about these things a little bit differently. Maybe you start to look at Meta's open source models. Maybe you look at Alphabet's models. Microsoft could be impacted there. Microsoft is also implementing OpenAI's technology in all of their co-pilots. So basically they want to get it onto every desktop that has Windows as its operating system and all of the customers who are using Microsoft 365. This is a huge integration, and it's really OpenAI that's powering it. So that leaves Microsoft in a really difficult position, at least for now, not knowing what the future of OpenAI is going to be and what the technology coming out of there is going to be, because it seemed like the partnership between the two came down to Altman and Satya Nadella. This was a very high level partnership. Nadella was at OpenAI's product demo about a week ago, and a lot of the products that Microsoft introduced last week were related to OpenAI's technology. So what happens here? Does OpenAI start to fall apart? Does Microsoft end up buying OpenAI? Does Microsoft move to other partners and other models? Do they start bringing these things in-house? All of this is very much up in the air. And consider that Microsoft stock is up 53% as I'm recording over the past year. Over $1 trillion in value has been generated since Microsoft started deepening its relationship with OpenAI, since ChatGPT was announced. I think this is going to be a huge deal for Microsoft, and we don't know exactly how it's going to play out. The second thing to think about, I think, is already happening, and that's the brain drain of people leaving OpenAI. If it's true that two of the co-founders who brought a lot of the people in to the company are going to be leaving, and now you're left with this nonprofit that is not focused on making money, how are you going to keep the employees who are really doing the technical work there? And I think that's going to ultimately be the challenge. Does the business structure, an original business model, end up being the downfall for OpenAI? Because I could see a lot of these people are leaving. The rumors of the offers that they're getting from big tech companies is up to $10 million per year for some of these researchers. So we could see a lot of the staff move to Apple, Amazon, Microsoft. Oracle is very interested in artificial intelligence. These are some of the biggest and richest companies in the world that could be poaching talent. As we speak, I'm sure there have been a lot of phone calls in just the last few hours, especially given how quickly this firing happened. Definitely something to watch is the brain drain that is happening, because once that talent starts leaving, it's tough for OpenAI to continue to be the place to go if you were an artificial intelligence researcher. The third thing is the way that this opens the door for other competitors. If you are AWS or Google Cloud, those are the two biggest ones that I think especially Microsoft needs to be worried about. But maybe you start to gain a few more customers because you're a little bit more attractive, because the industry is not as tied to OpenAI as it once was. Do we also see people moving to more open source models? We know that earlier this year, Meta open sourced a bunch of its models. They're not quite as advanced as OpenAI's models from everything that we understand. But if we start to see that talent move to improving those open source models and customizing them for specific companies, maybe that's where a lot of the development happens. A lot to play out, but I think the market's view 24 hours ago was that Microsoft had a huge lead in artificial intelligence because of the way that it could integrate OpenAI's technology, and it has that customer reach with all of its products, especially on the enterprise side. That may have fallen apart overnight, and maybe Google Cloud and AWS become a little bit more attractive partners, because Google especially is a company that has a lot of compute in the cloud. They have their own models. They have those customer touch points. So maybe they become a little bit better partner in artificial intelligence, especially if they can get some of that talent. This is a company that has the money to throw around to pull some of that talent from OpenAI. A lot to watch here. And it's hard to think of another single person who is so important in the tech industry than Sam Altman. This is, for artificial intelligence, the equivalent of Steve Jobs with the iPhone or Bill Gates with the PC. He really defined that market. He spoke for artificial intelligence overall. He was meeting with world leaders in San Francisco just a few days ago. So this was a really shocking announcement, and the reverberations are going to be happening across the tech landscape for quite a while. I think at the very least, right now, we can see that Microsoft is in a little bit weaker position than it was just a few days ago. It's possible that companies like Alphabet and Amazon with AWS moves into a little bit better position as well. But we'll see how this plays out. Let me know your thoughts on Altman leaving OpenAI and what happens next for this industry. Leave those comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to Asymmetric Investing. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you here next time.